Hi everyone, we're back. It's Stephen Young with the Realtor Coach and Young Realty Academy. I am going to present to you a strategy on how to go from $0 to $250,000. Not uncommon in today's world of real estate sales. It's actually quite the easy plateau to reach. But the catch is with no money, not spending any advertising dollars, not investing of your own money, anybody else's money. There's no hidden tricks, but this is going to be action based on yourself. You're going to have to put in some sweat equity, which is sort of the difference between investing and advertising. That the advertising is doing the work for you. But this one, I was challenged to give a student sort of a how-to guide on how to go from $0 to $250,000. So what they challenged me to do was they're new into the business, never sold real estate before in their life, don't know anything about the business, how to do anything. And they wanted to make $250,000 in their first year. But the catch they had to me was to say, I don't want to spend any money. One, because they didn't have any to spend. And two, they just didn't think that that was a good business proposition. Obviously, we've coached them to think through things a little bit differently and be more strategic. But this was the proposition that was proposed to me. If you don't know me or my background, I'm not one to shy away from or turn away from a challenge. So this challenge gave me, I had to think about it for a very short period of time, but I was definitely open for the challenge. Basically what the challenge was is how to take your non-existent business to a $250,000 a year business in a year or less. That's the challenge that was given to me, and that's the challenge that I'm going to propose to everyone listening today. I'm going to give you a step-by-step process on how to do it. But before we get there, we want to obviously focus on success principles, because it doesn't matter what I'm coaching or what you're reading or seeing out there or listening to other coaches or speakers. The success really boils down to three things. So before you venture down any path, you need to know your numbers, what we call the metrics of the business. You also need to have a strategy to hit those numbers, your metrics. And in this example, you're going to need to figure out ways to generate leads, and specifically free leads for what we're going to show you today. When it comes to real estate and real estate sales, well, any sales for that matter, but specifically in real estate, you're in the lead generation business and marketing business. A lot of realtors, especially beginning realtors, do not understand this concept. They think, they just need to sell a home or be at an open house or put up a sign on a lawn or put an ad in the newspaper, and miraculously their business is going to take off. That's not exactly how it happens. You have to generate the leads first before any of that actually occurs down the road. Most realtors, unfortunately, they don't get that concept early on, and sadly, 70% of all realtors, new realtors being in the business, are out of the business within 2 years. So again, before we go any further into this, it's very important that you understand what your numbers are for your area or your marketplace. You need a strategy, a plan, a goal, and you also have to figure out ways to generate leads. All three of these will be combined will make great success for you. So the metrics. So for this example, we were in the realtor we were coaching is in the city of Toronto, where the average property they were selling condos is $500,000, and we average approximately 2.5% commission on both the selling and the buying side. So that is approximately $12,500 per transaction. So you need to know these very basic metrics when it comes to your local area. If your local area is $150,000 a year and you average 3%, you have to figure out what your average transaction cost is going to be. You also need to figure out if it's $1 million a year and your goal is, $500,000 a year. All of this is going to determine what you need to do to boil it down to what you need to do every single month. So in this specific example, we're going to be using the city of Toronto condominium market. $500,000 is the average condo sold, and the average transaction is 2.5%. So the goal on the target was $250,000 in 1 year, or $20,833 per month. Which, if you knew your metrics of 12,500, you would know that is on average 1.67 closes per month. So we rounded up to 2. Okay, so this person's actually going to generate more business. But to give you an idea, I've never seen a 1.6 deal occur. I've never seen a half of a deal transpire in front of me. So there's ways you can sort of manipulate the numbers, but let's just keep the numbers simple and keep it to 2 transactions per month. Or you could take 1 month off at the end of the year or something like that. So when it comes to strategy, you need to work with sellers. I'm always a big preacher of listing to last. It takes less time and effort, and you can leverage your business much faster. So if you're brand new in the business, you don't know anything about the business, you're starting at zero, you have no money. The one thing you have to focus on is sellers, working with sellers, how to get listings. And based on your average commission in your area, can you realign your target for increasing commission? So this is another strategic thing. So if you're new in the business or if you're an experienced agent and you're looking to increase the size of your market share, a couple of things you could do are, for example, if you are selling condos now at $500,000 on average and you want to double your salary, then you could just switch to selling $1 million homes. It's quite simple to do. You're going to get the same result as what you're currently doing if you're selling 10 or 12 properties per year, because what you do to get 10 or 12 properties per year will translate into a different dollar figure. It won't change. But what we're coaching you to do here is not to multiply it by a small figure. We are trying to get you to exponentially grow and geometrically grow from making your annual income into your monthly income. So based on that, these are some strategies that you can do to implement instantaneously. When it comes to strategy, you also have to understand your metrics, which involve your average days on market, your list to sale ratio, and your sales volume. There's no point of being the number one sales agent in a market where there's only 3 sales a year. What's the point? So you have to really dial down and dial into what you're selling. So in our market where we coach mostly is the downtown condo market of Toronto. And that market, today the numbers are out, there's 80 new listings that are currently on the market. Sales ratio is about 67%. That means 67% of those 80 will sell. The days on market is 22 days. So that's how long it takes to sell. So you need to know these numbers for you to create your plan, your 2 deals per month, and how you're going to generate those 2 deals per month. And you'll also understand how that sells through at the end of it when you understand your metrics better. And your strategy will help you develop all that in your goal. So for this goal, we're going to be doing $250,000 per year, which would equate to approximately 2 transactions per month. And before we get into the actual how-to, these are success factors that will play into what we're going to coach you. Okay, so when it comes to real estate sales, it's a game. You have to understand that it's a game. At the end of the day, most people get into it as a business, it's a job, it's something they have to go to work to do. But when you understand it, at the end of the day, it's really just a game between different realtors. Who can outperform the other? You know, what your marketing going to do that's going to be better than your competition. You have to have fun with it. Was what it boils down to. Enthusiasm. This, to me, was the biggest trigger for me in my business. When I would meet with clients, prior to meeting them with enthusiasm, I would go against sort of my natural inclination to be enthusiastic and really just be too serious and be very rigid and oriented with numbers. And you can't do that. You know, people relate better to people with enthusiasm. Even if you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to real estate, people will gravitate to persons being more enthusiastic than the person who is not. So determination. When it comes to sales, it's a very difficult business to be in. You can't be afraid to fail and follow the plan with faith. So this week we spoke about the decision makers between fear and faith. All decisions boil down to those 2 options. You can either make your decisions with fear, so you're fearful going into things, and that'll determine your outcome, or you can have faith that decisions you go into, the outcome is going to be better off. The challenge with fear, you typically end up with regret. And with faith, you typically end up with what you truly want. So it's very important to be determined and act with faith. So with market knowledge, again, if the better you know the market, the better off you're going to be against your competition. So if there's 2 realtors going into one listing presentation, and the seller, gravitates to the person with enthusiasm, the person, they understand the marketing, they understand everything, and then it boils down to the seller asking them about the market, and they have no clue what they're talking about. They don't know what the neighbors' properties have sold for. They don't understand how long the property's been on the market for, the listing to sale ratio. They don't understand what HPI or home price index is. And if you don't understand that, the sellers will pick up on that instantaneously and will just not work with you. So the last 3 success factors before we get into the how-to of how I solved this realtor's problem of going from $0 to $250,000 are research, confidence, and persistence. Now, you've all heard me talk about this over and over and over again. But research who your sellers are. What's their background? What's their name? The worst thing you can do is go into a listing presentation and call them like Mr. or Mrs. something because you don't know what their actual first name is. Find out what's the reason for the sale. You have to figure out all this information prior to. If you don't have it prior to, the very basics, you just need to find out who they are. Confidence in everything you say and do. My goodness, the worst thing you can do is not be confident in a listing presentation. When you're going to meet with a seller, fake it till you make it type things, which you got to hear in this business. But if you are not confident, again, the sellers pick up on that instantaneously. And persistence. You have to persist and you have to keep going no matter how many no's you get in this business. The reason why I'm going over these success factors, because the strategy I'm going to share with you is going to have a high no rate. You're going to get a lot of no's. Okay, you're gonna get probably more no's than yeses at the beginning, but as you master your technique and you master your scripts, you're gonna understand that your persistence will pay off down the road. So here's the how-to. Now, this is a FSBO strategy. The reason we're using a FSBO strategy, one, because it's free, and two, because there's a lot of them out there. So I know there's probably a lot of experienced agents probably listening to this right now. Again, they're probably rolling their eyes. They may not know what they're talking about. The FSBO strategy is one of the 5 strategies we spoke about at last week's training session. This is really the how-to of the FSBO strategy. And the formula of success with no money is getting on the phone. It's plain and simple. Either get on the phone or get to their doorstep, you knock on the door, and you start this conversation. But when you're on the phone, it's much easier, more time effective, and you can leverage a lot of more things better over the phone than in person. So the formula is make 20 FSBO calls per day. So you find 1 hour a day. You can do it in 1 hour. If it's 2 hours, then do it for 2 hours. You convert 16 of those calls to appointments, just actual, I just want to come and see your house. Okay, it doesn't have to be getting a listing over the phone. It's just being in front of that person. So creating 16 appointments. You convert at 50%, which is awful, by the way. You convert 16 of those to 8 actual listings, and of those 8, you'll sell 2. Okay, so that's your 2 sales per month strategy. If you're selling at $12,500 per month, and times 2, it's going to end up being more than $250,000 per year. And it's not going to cost you anything to do that. But what it is going to cost you is some sweat equity. You're going to actually have to spend some time on a computer and some time on a phone and actually calling people, letting them know you're a realtor. I know it sounds redundant, but you'd be surprised how many realtors don't actually do this every single day. Okay, when it comes to the how-to strategy, once you have this person on the phone, the number one thing, like I said, when you have to do research, act as if you know them. Call them by their first name. Assume there's already an existing relationship. Speak to them as though they're not a prospect. Speak to them as though they're going to be someone who's going to benefit from you calling them. So it's very important to start that relationship early on. Be upfront. It's awful how many times I personally get phone calls from people inquiring about properties that I own, and they don't tell me they're a realtor until an hour into the conversation. So you have to be upfront. You're the real estate professional, okay? You're inquiring about their property for sale or for rent. It depends. You can do this through renting. It's obviously much more difficult, much more work, but you can still do it that way as well. Number 3, you have to find out what their why is. What is the main reason for their sale? It's not typically when it comes to FSBOs, it's not just to save commission is the reason for the sale or the reason why they're doing it themselves. There's always a component that's really their decision-making process, whether it's they have to sell by a certain date or sell by a certain price, or they have to move to a different city or whatever. You got to figure out what that why is. It'll really help you in the end. Number 4, get the price and commission they are offering. So before you get off the phone call, before you book the appointment with them, you have to figure out what price and commission they're going to offer. And part 5 of this is going to be the goal is to net more money to the seller. But you're not going to tell them that instantaneously. That's part of the magic of how you get into the appointment and actually close them into a listing presentation. Those are the 5 main keys that you need to do when you're actually on the phone with the seller. And the answers will get you appointments. And here's why you ask those questions. So what is your price? So we're going to use the example of the City of Toronto downtown condominiums, get $500,000. So this is assuming the seller is going to be speaking to you. So you say, Mr. Seller or whatever first name, hi Bob, what is your property that you're offering? Well, it's $500,000. Would you be willing to pay me a commission for a buyer if I brought you a buyer? Yes, of course I would. I'll pay you 2.5%, like the going rate, $12,500. And if I had a buyer who is willing to close all cash tomorrow, what would be your rock bottom price that you would take for your property if I were to close it tomorrow? All cash, no conditions. And then seller would have to probably hum and haw, and they would think about it and would say, oh, okay, I'll take 480. Okay. So the key to this, the key to really, again, the part 5 of you're trying to net the most money for the seller as possible before you even get into the marketing and in front of them and telling them and convincing them why you are the better person to do this than they are themselves. You have to get this information. So the reason being is because they have already negotiated 7% off the price. If you take $20,000 off the price plus your commission on top of that, they've already taken 7% off the price, which is why they need your help, because 7% is they're paying more than they'd be paying you at 5% to be their listing representative. So again, part of the purpose of trying to be a net lister, or a benefits of using a listing agent net more money, is that you're going to convince them just on the phone even that this is the reason why. So you're going to ask those questions, and the answers are going to tell you the reason why they need to use you. And instantaneously, you'll say, look, we don't negotiate down to 480. We never would on your behalf. We are going to net you more money because we will most likely sell for a higher price point because you're going to have better exposure and better marketing. And when it comes to commissions, we can always negotiate the buyer side commission as well to help you with your price if you need to net more money. The end result is they're going to be saving themselves 7% and probably earning more money at the end of the day. And all that you have to really focus on, you have to hone, you have to really develop your skill on speaking with people. Realistically, the first phone call you make, probably the first 10 or 20 phone calls you make to a FSBO, it's going to be an awful script, and you're probably going to get all 100% no's. But you have to work on it. You got to develop your skill, your technique, your strategy. And when you start getting this honed down, you're going to start seeing a lot more sales come through. Two is a very conservative number, especially for a city like Toronto. So the benefits of doing a FSBO strategy. There are a ton of leads in today's market. With all the technology out there and the sort of the ease of getting these properties out to market, more and more people are doing it themselves. The challenge is, if you look at the actual closure rate, they're around like anywhere from 50 to 60% on sort of the high side of doing it yourself and actually making a sale. So it's successful, yes, but if you think about 40 to 50% of people not being able to sell it on their own, they're going to need your help as the real estate professional. So where do you find the leads? FSBO.com, FSBO.ca, PropertyGuys.com is probably the leader in this just because they've got a well-oiled machine. But the problem is they don't put it onto MLS. So that's a good thing for you, because part of your value add, your VAM marketing, so your value added marketing, is going to be that you're going to expose it to more people through the MLS. So Craigslist, Sign-It, Kijiji, they're all okay. They're not great. The reason being is because they're not as efficient tools to use as something like the Property Guys or the MLS, for example. So now there's a lot of companies putting these on MLS. The beauty about that is you as a realtor have access to speedier information, more information. The difficulty with it is your value added is taken away because you can't say you could expose it to more people. It's already on MLS. If it's not selling, you got to figure out why. So that's part of your homework to do. The other benefits are, of course, you spend no money when you do this. There's very low competition, very few realtors. One, not only do they not know how to do the strategy, but they'd rather not do the strategy. They'd rather have inbound marketing, so marketing coming to them. It's very easy to get started. You can literally put this into practice today. You can make 20 phone calls before the end of today, knowing the strategy is in place. You get very quick results. You'll have a yes or no by the end of those 20 phone calls. If you get a yes for an appointment, you'll know instantaneously at that appointment whether you have it or not. So you can get very high turnover very, very quickly. And of course, higher net commissions come to you. So you'll be able to have more and more traffic coming to you each month with working with more sellers, and you're going to be reducing your marketing costs because you're not going to have any marketing fees to spend from your commissions. You're actually netting more money by having a FSBO strategy in place. So that's the FSBO strategy. It will make you $250,000 per year, starting at $0. And the catch with no money, that's easily done, especially in today's market with technology. Today's lesson was short and sweet. I hope you implement these strategies. The real key to success is the implementation and action, not knowledge. But now that I've backed up some of your knowledge, you can start implementing right away. All the best. And that's the Realtor Coach. Check us out at therealtorcoach.com. And if you have any questions or you want to follow up, you can just get in contact us with us at therealtorcoach.com. Thanks.